What is up? Excuse me. Wow, it's been a while. It's been a couple weeks since I've been here. Forrest doing a great job filling in for me. In the meantime, we are doing this a little early this week. We've got some festivities this weekend. We will be in attendance at the LCA on Friday. If you find us, buy us a beer. It's my bachelor party. So, with that being said, it's a sprint to the finish line. There's a bunch of teams in the wild card 2 race. Forrest and I are going to break it down right now.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Hockey Town Hangout.
Brings it in, scores! Oh, his first NHL goal is a beauty!
The sickest Detroit Red Wings podcast. It's gonna be sick.
So last time Forrest solo pod, pretty fired up after that loss to Ottawa. Ended up being close on the scoreboard. Really wasn't close for most of the game. Obviously able to bounce back. More of a energy type game against Boston. 2 struggling offenses, which showed. But I'm gonna yield to you here at the beginning, just kind of your response from your last recording and then the outing that followed.
Hanging on for dear life. The boys are, still alive but barely breathing, for lack of a better term. A 2-1 win against Boston, that was probably one of the most boring games in a long time that we've watched out of these Wings. Obviously, you can't be too upset about a win, especially for a team that is, desperate, just absolutely desperate for some points. Getting some timely saves. The difference in this game was the goaltending. The one that is going to stick out in everybody's mind, I think, is the Cam Talbot save at the end against Casey Middlestat, which, I don't know. Look, he shot it right. His glove was out there so early, and he shot it right in there. Hey, we're obviously going to take it, but there was a couple saves in that third period where Talbot really kind of stood on his head, walking away. Like they're still in the thick of things, as up and down as they can be. But, still only a couple points out of a playoff spot. So you're telling me there's a chance?
Somehow, some way, there is still a chance. You mentioned it being a boring game. The start of the game was not boring at all.
Agreed.
Alex DeBrincat takes a hit. He's a tiny little guy. It was kind of an elbow to the forearm. I don't know what really happened there. Took exception, stepped up, challenged the guy, got some good haymakers in there. And then just a couple minutes of game action later, Austin Watson just completely leveling whoever that guy was that he fought. I don't even remember who it was, but just an absolute dust up. Even a DDT at the end, WWE style. We love to see that. So my big issue, I think our big issue is the roster of the team. And in particular, like the bottom 6, how there's no identity with the bottom 6. Like bottom 6 forwards, in my opinion, I'm sure you feel the same, if not at least similar. Like those guys need to serve some kind of a purpose. Like it can't just be like just guys, just plugs. Like it can't just be people filling it out. They have to serve a purpose. I know Austin Watson has a lot of flaws in his game. Maybe it doesn't have to be necessarily him, but I feel like people like that who aren't afraid to just be there, to be hard-nosed, grinded out players, and who will fight people with some type of regularity. The Red Wings identity is one of my biggest gripes with the team. Like, what is it? What is it? I don't even think they know sometimes what their identity is. And like that is a really, really catastrophic area to be in as a hockey team. So I don't know. I feel like the bottom 6, someone like Austin Watson, maybe not him specifically, but I love the type of energy and identity that a player like that brings to the bottom 6 of a team that struggles with their identity so often.
It's a great point. You talk about a team that is before the win against the Bruins, 3-11 in their last 14, consistently slow out of the gates, consistently playing from behind, consistently letting the other team get to 3 and usually put a couple goals up before they even muster a comeback. To see Alex DeBrincat come out and toss the gloves really, I think, changed the entire tone of the game. It went from, maybe this is just going to be another one to, hey, someone's finally sick of getting pushed around for the last 2 months. And it's just hilarious to me how the shortest guy on the fucking team is going to be the one to stand up and chuck the knucks. It is the smallest guy on the team doing it. Why can nobody else do it? What the hell is Michael Rasmussen doing, 6'6"? What is Soderblom doing, 6'8"? All these guys that are tall, big, should have a physical element. Softer than 2-ply. It takes the 5'9", one of the best goal scorers on our team, unfortunately, to wake the whole team up. Now, Austin Watson took that a step further by absolutely pummeling that dude's face in. The beginning of this game, I think, is a tone setter for the last 9-10 games of the season. This is not a team that's going to go away, as down as we might get on them, as high as we might be on them at times. This is not a team that's going away, and I think that you finally saw that this team's pissed off, and they're finally ready to start doing something about it. I'm very interested to see how over the next couple, they're playing a very, very hot St. Louis team coming up. I would love to see an Austin Watson shift early and someone just laying the lumber on some of these defensemen from St. Louis. Do something different as opposed to putting out the first line every night. Put the goons out there and let them set the tone as opposed to, I'll say status quo as of recently.
Yeah, without a doubt. What you said reminds me of an episode of Shoresy. Just send the gyms out there, set the tone. But you have a good point, especially like a team like St. Louis, probably the hottest team in the NHL, 9-game win streak. And it was funny because I was at work earlier and I was listening to the media availability from today, and they talked to Larkin, Kane, and the coach. And they were asking him, what do you do against a team that's this hot? And Larkin mentioned something about getting them off their game early. And Kane said something about, well, they won 9 in a row, so you got to think someone's going to end that at some point, right? Why not, why not us? And I think there was just kind of like a quiet little confidence. Like you kind of said it, we're not going down without a fight. We're still in this thing until we're officially eliminated. And I think if you can really, if you can embrace that and make that your identity here, these last little bit of games, who knows what can happen? If you can take down St. Louis and end their win streak, maybe it starts to feel like less of a tall task. That momentum from game to game, some will argue if that's real or not, but when you're playing well and you're winning games, you're getting points and all these things, those little moments in the game where something goes wrong, it's a different mindset and it's a different frame of mind, the way you're reacting to it. Because when things are going great and you make a little mistake, it's it's okay. We'll get the next one. We're playing good. We're fine. When you're in the thick of it and everything's going wrong, the tiniest little mistake, it can just spiral so fast. And we've seen it 100 times over these last 8 years with no playoffs. We've seen it so much. So that St. Louis game tomorrow, I'm really intrigued to see, because I agree with you. I think the tone being set early is super, super important. And you see what it did to Boston. It wasn't a high offensive game. I mean, those two offenses 5-on-5 are not good. Some of the worst in the NHL. But hey, you go out there and set the tone early and you let them know you're not going to get pushed around. And yeah, we might not be in a playoff spot right now, but damn it, we're trying our hardest and we're going to lay it all on the line every single night. I just, it's going to take a different brand of hockey because they're playing playoff hockey right now. If they really want to make it, they have to start playing it now. And the start I saw last game was encouraging. Let's see it again and again.
I absolutely love seeing the Catman just get after it so early. I mean, going back to it, 5'9", setting the tone. Why is he the one to set the tone? I've been kind of mocking up a little fourth line that I would love to see for our wings, and I'll run it by you here. Watson, Shine, Rasmussen in the middle. But the one caveat is Rasmussen actually has to take the body. He has to start hitting people. I mean, you're 6'6". Start punishing defenders. If you can get Rasmussen to bring a physical aspect into the bottom six, along with those two who are not afraid to throw around the body, I think that is finally an identity line that they have. Send them out there. It doesn't have to be more than once every 10 minutes, but send them out there against the top line when they're at the end of their shift, beat them up, and then bring them right back to the bench. That is something this team is missing. Being able to punish a defender. Actually, when the defenseman turns his back to the offensive rush, he should be scared shitless about someone coming and blowing his doors off. I want this to be a NASCAR style bump and grind in the corner. I want you trading paint out there with these defensemen, and they don't do it. They don't ever finish a check down low. Like, gosh, I don't think there's ever any hits below the defense's red line, like on the other team. That is something that I want to see them emphasize more, and make like the coaching staff especially make it a point. These wings, they've been pushed around for the last 3 years at a very consistent basis. And I personally don't think that the Senators are that much farther ahead of us, but they sure look like they are when they play us, because they know that they can push us around. If you throw Austin Watson, Dominic Shine, and Michael Rasmussen out there against the Kachuk line, and you have I hate to say, like a Four Nations thing, like, hey, let's go, tough guy, drop him right now. That is the kind of thing that I want to see out of them, and a way I think they can be useful and help close this gap to the second wild card spot.
So obviously, a tough task lies ahead. I think every team they play for the rest of the way is in a playoff position currently at time of recording. That's tough. So obviously it's kind of touch and go here, one day at a time. With the teams that are in it, it's both New York teams, us, Columbus, and Montreal. It's 5 teams. It's a lot that has to happen on so many different sides. I think their current playoff odds are at like 5% or less. So it's not very high. They have a tall task in front of them. Shifting gears a little bit into what lies beyond Game 82. If it's not the playoffs, then obviously we start getting into offseason mode. That's kind of where my gut is telling me this is going. It's a really tough task. And if they are able to do it, they'd obviously match up with Washington. And I think that would be a good series. I don't know how they would fare, but Washington, who's been the best team pretty much start to finish, and then the Red Wings, if they get in, would be one of the hottest teams in the league at that point. So it's a stretch, not impossible, but a stretch. But let's assume they fall short. There's some major work to be done on what the on-ice product looks like come October next year. And we spoke about a little bit earlier with the bottom 6. I think there's also something to be said about left wing spot in the top 6. That's probably open. They could use some help. I think there's also obviously the second pair or even first pair left side of the D. What are you going to do? Is Axel Sandin Pellikka going to be in that mix? I know you and I have talked about a potential Sherratt Johansson third pair. Like that could be something that I think could be useful. And then obviously the goaltending situation. I know you and I and a lot of fans want Sebastian Cossa to be on the team next year. Looking like that most likely will be the case, but we'll see. What are some of your, like, if you had one area that you wanted addressed first and foremost, this is the most important thing to me, what would that be?
Just one.
You could, we could do a couple. Don't matter. It's our show.
Okay. If I could make one roster move from this season to next, assuming that they don't make the playoffs, it's putting Sebastian Cossa on the roster next season. That is, I talked about it on last week's pod, which was a very fired up pod from me. Sebastian Cossa has to be on the roster next season. The strength of our prospect pool, in my opinion, is goaltenders. Between Cossa, who's like 23, and Trey Augustine, who's like 20, 21, somewhere around there. How much more overseason can this guy get? Like, there was a lot of talk about, why did Steve move up for Cossa at the time of the draft? Well, guess who's outplayed the guy picked behind him, Wallstedt, for each of the last 3 seasons? It's Sebastian Cossa. This guy has had below a 2.5 goals against average every single year of his professional career. Even when he struggled, like, he turns it on at the right time of the year. You're seeing it right now with Grand Rapids. They aren't playing that well. He is keeping them in games. And him being on the roster, I think, is so important just because he needs to start getting used to the speed at this level. And how do you do that? Well, you practice with the team and you start playing against the NHL. And we saw him earlier in the season come in relief, and he played well. Give him the opportunity. If I had to say a second one, it would definitely be defense and getting a partner for Seider on the top pairing, because I don't think that they're going to play Seider and Edvinsson together until they can start to build more depth. But what about you?
Yeah, I think for me, Costa is definitely important. Like, I definitely want that to happen. But like that hole in the top 6 and the top 4 on D are like super, super crucial. And it stresses me out to say the least, because we've talked about it lots on here and on our Twitter page and a lot of places, but like the inability or seeming inability to bring in pieces around your core players that you've drafted and that you're building around, that the seeming inability to do that really, really stresses me out, because it's been going on for a long, long time across 2 different GM tenures. So, ideally, you heard Yzerman, I think it was at the trade deadline, talk about how, when they were winning cups and he was playing on the team, like they had guys who were big and heavy and hard to play against. Obviously, he values that. Look at Seider and Edvinsson, the 2 he's drafted. Then you have Sandin Pellikka, who is not that, who's a, more of the Quinn Hughes type of mold. Not saying he'll be that good, hope he is, but, that type of player. Smaller, mobile, offensive dynamo defenseman who can skate pretty good. But who do you bring in to play on that left side? Because like you said, do you want to put Seider and Edvinsson together? Like they've played together, they have some chemistry. And then do you want to bring in somebody to play on the left side with ASP? Again, these are what my plans would be. I don't know if it's what their plans are, and then even if not, if your plans are ASP in Grand Rapids, then who's going to play on your second pair altogether? Is just going to be Schrott and Johansson? Is it going to be Gustafsson? Like, you have to have a deeper defensive core. We cannot have a plug on the second pair, and we cannot have a third pair that we play super sheltered minutes that we can't trust in almost any scenario. You have to have a first pair you trust everywhere. You have to have a second pair you trust damn near anywhere. And you have to have a third pair that you can at least rely on in the defensive zone. Like that's what it has to be. And I think if you have Seider and Edvinsson at the top, and if you have Schrott and Johansson at the bottom, it comes down to that second pair and who's going to be there. Either way, you got to bring in some help. I know there's, on the UFA market, there's not a lot of options. Some RFA options, those involve like either trading for rights if a team's like in a cap situation, like someone like a Keandre Miller with the Rangers or someone like a Nicholas Hague with the Vegas Golden Knights, big left shot guys who have a ton of hits in their career. But you have to find a way to get creative, because just going out and finding someone that fits like the bar on the floor bare minimum criteria for where you need them to play, like that's not going to get it done. That's going to get you in positions like this where it's April 1st tomorrow and you have less than 75 points. So it's really, the approach has to be different. The methodology needs to be different. Not claiming to be an expert. I don't know what the heck it is, but clearly what they've been doing surrounding complementary. And I didn't even talk about the top 6. Who's going to play in the top 6? Who's going to play with Larkin and Raymond? Is DeBrincat going to be on the second pair? I did actually really like how Casper and Raymond looked together in the Boston game. So could that be an option for next year? So there's some massive need for help at pretty much everywhere you look up and down the lineup. And then in the bottom 6 too, identity. If you can have a third line that mixes a little bit of scoring and your identity, that's good. And if you can have a fourth line that's all identity, then that's fine too. But like, it can't just be guys. Like the Berggren experiment needs to be over. The Tarasenko experiment needs to be over. Comfer is on thin ice, like a career worst season. Like, I don't know what that's all about. I think Andrew Kopp could be a serviceable third line center. So what are you going to do? Are you going to keep Comfer and Kopp? Probably not wise. They have so many decisions. Like I could sit here and write a list for an hour and maybe still have some things left to jot down. It's a long, long list, but thankfully there's a lot of time to do it. Hopefully they feel the urgency because the clock is ticking. Dylan Larkin's contract is winding and Alex DeBrincat's contract only has another year or 2 on it. So it's time to kick this thing in overdrive. 100th year season next year. Don't piss it away.
I want to key in on something that you said there. They've kind of treated a lot of prospects the exact same way over, we'll say, the last decade, 15 years. It hasn't worked. I mean, who are the best players that have come up through the Red Wings system in the last decade? We'll say Dylan Larkin. We'll say Lucas Raymond, and we'll say Mo Seider. What is the one thing all of them have in common? They really didn't spend any time in the AHL.
Weird.
They got to play against men right away, and they got to learn the pace of the NHL. At what point do you just light to fire the Wings way of treating prospects and just start loading up the NHL roster like a lot of these really good playoff teams have to in order to make the salary cap work? I just think that it needs to be a philosophy change, and it starts from the top down, and that's easier said than done. But at what point do you crumble up the paper and throw it over your shoulder into the garbage can and say, all right, we need to change our player development ways because it's not working. It hasn't worked. And, we're, like you said, we're going to piss away Larkin's entire time with the Wings without being in the playoffs.
Well, here's the thing is I think this is the second year of that 8-year deal right now, right? So he's got 6 years after this one's done. Like, soon enough, these guys, Sherratt, Kopfer, Kopp, Tarasenko, Gustafsson, like they're all going to be gone, and then a new wave's going to come in. If you mess up this next wave, there goes the Larkin contract. There it goes. Like, you want it black and white right now? It's 2025. You mess up another wave of supplementary pieces, depth pieces around your core, there goes your captain's whole contract. And then what? Then he's going to be in north of 34 and have played in one playoff series. Like, you got to start feeling the heat at some point. I love Steve Yzerman. I love the team, all this stuff. But at a certain point, like I said, 100th year season next year, we're in the middle of the longest playoff drought in franchise history in 100 years. All right. Granted, we're spoiled. 25 years in, now we get 8 years out. Not trying to complain too much, but when you start flirting with historically bad stuff, I'm going to complain. Like, sorry about it. Right. I feel like we all have that right. And we shouldn't be gaslit by media or the team to feel any sort of way. Right. I mean, 8 years out, about to be 9 if they can't stay on this heater and beat all these playoff teams. So, yeah, it's the urgency needs to be felt very much so. And like, I'm sure they do to a degree. Like, they obviously care. I don't think they're just sitting around and effing off and not caring. But like you said, like the Red Wing way. I mean, the last 8 years, the Red Wing way has gotten us on the golf course by April 25th. So not really sure how well that's working out. I really hope a lot of intentionality goes into it because I really want this team to be good. I want to see what Larkin and Raymond and Seider and these guys can do in the playoffs. And there's obviously more prospects along the way, but yeah, you can't mess up. It can't be all drafted players on the team next year. I think we all know that. But so you got to switch it up, man. You got to find a way to get creative. You got to maybe pull the trigger on something, bring in somebody young to shake some things up. Like, the time is now. Year 100, longest drought in franchise history, in the middle of your captain's big contract, into the term now, chipping away at the term of Raymond and Seider's contracts. Like, the time is now. Stop looking around. The time is now.
Yeah, the one thing Steve says is we need more time. No, like this is year 6. Come on, like
I think
light a fire under it. Do something. Put an offer sheet out there. It's amazing. The Blues 2 offer sheets. Wow, the team on the rise.
That's really.
I mean, you talk about a GM that's not afraid to go against the grain. Against the status quo. Where is that for our GM? This summer is so important. You mentioned Condre Miller. That's someone that I would absolutely go after, and I would back up the Brinks truck and give away a first-round pick to go get him, because a first-round pick for the most part in the 10 to 15 range isn't going to be up here for another 3-4 years. I would give up our first-round pick in a heartbeat to go after Condre Miller and slot him right next to Seider on the top line. You talk about the quickest way to solve the top pairing. You get him out there. You have ASP and Edvinsson on the second. Sherratt and Johansson or whoever on the third line, but you can shelter people on the third line when you have 2 absolute stud pairings ahead of that. So
yeah,
go ahead.
I think like next year is going to be Yzerman's 7th year, and usually my personal rule with GMs is 5 years, and like it's the Red Wings, it's Yzerman. There was COVID, that was another excuse I used in my own head. But year 7, like at a certain point, like year 7, year 100 of the franchise. You've been there. You've been flirting with a playoff spot for 3 years. You keep fucking around in March for 3 years in a row. Like,
Flirting's a loose term.
sure, right. But, last year you're in it till the very end. This year you could be in it, well past game 75. And like, so you're there, but you're missing things. And I feel like if we just had a more whole and complete roster that complemented each other and did a better job with the identity, because truth be told, like, there's 3 prongs to this, right? I mean, it's management and operations, and there's coaching, and then there's players, right? I think with the coaching, since the change, I think most of us have been pretty pleased with how that's going. I think that's a better fit now. The players, I mean, it's not their fault they're giving all this money. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at a certain point, like, you got to let them off the hook a little bit and start looking up the chain a little bit. Who's giving out all this money? Who's giving out all this term? Who's scouting these guys? Who's interviewing these guys? What are we doing? So, and again, like, I'm willing to forgive. If you get in the playoffs and start being, more relevant, that's an easy way to earn forgiveness with a fan base, obviously. But what we've been doing is not working. And if you keep doing it and you mess up another wave, there goes Larkin.
The definition of insanity. Doing something over and over again and expecting a different result.
We're so
Here's
back.
to hoping that season 7
We're
starts off
so
and ends
back.
a little better.
Oh, fuck. Nonetheless, it's going to be exciting to watch down the stretch. I hope they can play tough tomorrow. I hope they can take it to the Blues, knock them on their butts, and just go from there. But we'll be here all along the way. Forrest, any parting thoughts, any final words?
Casper on the second line, dare I say probably the best player out there on a night in, night out basis. Once again, it's amazing what a guy can do when he's given minutes in his early 20s at the NHL level, huh?
And he looks so cool with that turtleneck, honestly. It's kind of
I
style.
didn't like it at first, but it's grown on me.
I kind of like it now. Yeah. And it's hey, when you play that hard, we're going to say things like, hey, that turtleneck looks cool. All right, gang. It's been a pleasure as always. We will chat with you after my bachelor party. If we make it out of downtown Detroit, we'll see what happens. Forrest, it's been a pleasure as always. We will see you on the other side.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Hockey Town Hangout on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.